Good morning. So today I will discuss about socio-emotional development of the preschooler. So, what is socio-emotional development? Socio-emotional development is crucial in the preschool years. We hear a lot of parents and teachers and preschool administrators say that attending preschool is more for socialization than for formal academic learning. So, there is a wisdom in this. During the preschool years, children learn about their ever-widening environment. Remember Module 10 on Bronfenbrenner? Preschoolers now discover their new roles outside their home. They become interested to assert themselves as they relate with other people. A lot of very important social skills they will learn during the preschool years will help them throughout life as adults. These skills can even determine the individual's later social adjustment and consequent quality of relationships in adult life. Big ideas on preschoolers' socio-emotional development. The development of initiative is crucial to the preschooler. A healthy self-concept is needed for preschoolers to interact with others. Environmental factors influence gender identity in young children. Preschoolers' social development is shown through the stages of play. The caregiving styles of parents and teachers affect the preschoolers' socio-emotional development. Preschoolers are interested in building friendships. Preschoolers' initiative. Erickson's view of initiative aptly portrays the emotional and social changes that happen during the preschool years. As discussed in Module 7, preschoolers deal with the psychological conflict of initiative versus guilt. Erickson believed that healthy preschoolers develop initiative, the tendency of preschoolers to want to take action and assert themselves. They will learn to create, invent, pretend, take risks, and engage in lively and imaginative activities with peers. When parents, teachers, and other adults support these attempts and provide a stimulating environment, the preschooler's sense of initiative will grow. On the other hand, if the adults show overprotection, extreme restriction, and criticisms, the preschooler will develop guilt. As preschoolers go through the conflict of initiative versus guilt, they show so much energy in doing imaginative play activities. Every place becomes a playground to explore. Every single thing an interesting piece to tinker with. Adults sometimes get exasperated over this behavior and begin to see the preschoolers as naughty or maculate. Parents and teachers then become overly restrictive, resorting to threats, intimidation, and other scary tactics that disrespect the preschooler just to establish control. Consequently, the child may develop excessive guilt. Although a good amount of guilt helps in making children take responsibility for their behavior, excessive guilt hampers emotional growth. Preschoolers who are always punished and criticized end up constructing a view of themselves as being salbahe or bad, bobo or dumb, or even walang kwenta or worthless. This is really sad because childhood years should be happy years. One poster says, "You don't have to hit to hurt." The message emphasizes that even the things we say and the way we deal with preschoolers can already hurt them at this vulnerable stage. The key thing to remember is to apply judicious permissiveness. This involves setting realistic boundaries that keep preschoolers safe and respectful of self and others, while allowing them greater opportunity to explore, take risks, and to engage in creative process. Preschoolers will develop a healthy sense of initiative in affirming, encouraging, and stimulating environment. Self-concept and the preschooler. So diri kung paunsa nila makita ilang kaugalingon ug unsa sila nga klase na pagkatawo. By the end of toddlerhood, preschoolers come out with a clear sense that they are separate and distinct person. With their ability to make representations, they can now think and reflect about themselves. Self-concept refers to the way one sees himself, a general view about one's abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. The preschooler self-concept mainly focuses on observable characteristics and his or her usual beliefs, emotions, and attitudes. One will hear a preschooler say, "Kaya ko na," or "I can do it." "Ako lang ang nagsuot ng shoes ko," or "I wear my shoes all by myself." An important aspect of self-concept is self-esteem, which specifically refers to one's judgments about one's worth. Preschoolers are naturally positive. Usually, they will tend to evaluate their skills and high underestimate the task. They are confident to try again even if they don't succeed with something. However, they may become negative because of repeated frustration and disapproval. Preschoolers need a lot of patience and encouragement from adults. Next is environmental factors and gender in preschoolers' socio-emotional development. As the preschoolers' ability to create schemas develop, they become capable of gender typing, the process of forming gender rules, gender-based preferences and behaviors accepted by society. They come to form gender stereotypes. Preschoolers begin to associate certain things like toys, tools, games, clothes, jobs, colors, or even actions or behaviors as being only for boys or only for girls. Consequently, they form their own gender identity. The view of oneself as being masculine or feminine ba. Gender typing and gender identity are influenced by environmental factors such as the family, the teachers, peers, and the mass media. This is where Bronfenbrenner's model comes into play. Different spheres of influence determine the preschooler's development of a gender schema. Differences in parental expectations and behavior towards daughters and sons affect gender typing and gender identity. More often, boys are expected to show more emotional control and be more competitive, while girls are expected to be warm and soft and demure. Parents also expect their children to play with toys that are right for their gender. The expectations of other people in these preschoolers' lives also influence their gender schema. This includes their relatives, teachers, classmates, and other playmates. Example lang nako sa environmental factors is ang ako ang pag-umangkon nga laki. Since nag-edad siya 3 is kanang the way siya mulantaw og mga movies like mga cartoon characters is mga Barbie jud iyang panglantawon. Tas the way siya palitan sa iyang parents og mga dulaan is mga pangdulaan jud sa mga babae like mga Barbie, mga naluto-lutuanan ana then karon nag-edad siya 7 years old is murag unsa bito yang makita sa iyang environment kay murag ma-possess niya ba or kana bitong ma-adapt bitaw niya. So karon mura siya ganang unsa niya yang bitong mga actions is more on pambabayi jud siya. Next is pertinence stages of play. Play is the main agenda of the preschool years. Play has a social dimension. As the preschoolers develops, social interactions with playmates increases. Mildred Partain in the 1930s did a study on children's play behavior which led to Partain's stages of play. Since then, numerous studies have followed using these stages as framework. The stages describe the play development of children and the gradual increase of social interactions as they go through these stages. It begins with the very young child's unoccupied stage, then the solitary play, then the parallel play, associative and cooperative play. Play becomes an important venue for the child's development of social skills like entering or joining a play situation, taking turns, sharing, helping, saying sorry, and working together. Play is indeed the child's major business. We have 6 pertinent stages of play. One is unoccupied. The child appears not to be playing but directs his attention on anything that interests him. Next is onlooker. The child spends time watching others play so mulantaw lang siya sa uban nga nagdula. He may talk to them pero dili siya mo apil og dura or but does not enter into play with them. Next is solitary play. The child starts to play on his own. He seems not to notice other children playing nearby. 4 is parallel play. The child plays with toys similar to those near him, but only plays beside and not with them. So no interactions or takes place. Next is associative play. The child plays with others. There is interaction among them, but no task, assignment, rules, and organizations are agreed upon. So, murag dula-dula lang sila, walay mga rules nga ilang mga nakasabutan, ana. Next is cooperative. So the child plays with others bound by some agreed upon rules and roles. The goal is maybe to make something play a game or act out something. So sa cooperative, so i-recall lang nato atong mga experience atong sa una nga bata pa ta. So di ba, since atong mga bata pa ta sa una is naajud magdula jud ta. Example lang nako is katong magdula ta o ganang dakpanay. So naajud na siya, naajud kay rules o role ana. So ikaw miingon to isa nga ikaw kuan, ikaw ang taya, ikaw amo ang leader. So na sila'y kuan na sila'y nakasabutan nga mga rules nila. Then makarelate pud ta ana kay katong sa una ana pud ba atong buhat nga magdula ta sa una atong ang childhood, mga memories nato sa una. Next is friendships in preschool. As they continue to grow, preschoolers become interested in having friends. This should be encouraged in the preschool years as friendships benefit the preschooler's development by providing stimulation, assistance, companionship, social comparison, and affection by Kostelnik 2010. Through friendships, preschoolers are able to practice different social rules like being a leader, a follower, someone who takes risks, and someone who helps out and comforts. Friendships are very important because they provide added sense of belongingness and security. In the preschool years, parents and teachers must expose children to experiences that help them learn skills in establishing friendships, maintaining positive relationships, and resolving conflicts. Parents and teachers, when seeing preschoolers in a fight, should not say, tama na. Ano ba yan? Isa pa ha? Tama na. Friends na kayo. Say sorry na. So responses like those do not foster social skills among preschoolers. Parents and teachers need to take time and process with children how to resolve conflicts. Caregiving styles. Caregiving styles affect the socio-emotional development of the children. Caregivers here refer to both parents and teachers and even other adults that care for the child. Bumrand gave a model that describes the different types of caregiving styles. This was based on longitudinal study that looked into the adult authority and the development of children that Bumrand conducted, which began in the 1960s. Decades later, she identified varying degrees of demandingness and responsiveness as determinants of four styles of caregiving. Marion 2007 expounded on these determining factors. Responsiveness refers to caregivers' behavior that pertain to expression of affection and communication. It refers to how warm, caring, and respectful the adult is to the child. It involves openness in communication and the willingness to explain things in ways that the child will understand. Demandingness refers to the level of control and expectations. This involves discipline and confrontation strategies, so more on pressure jud siya sa usa ka bata. Bumrand's caregiving styles and their effects on children. So we have authoritative, high demandingness, and high responsiveness. Authoritative parents have high expectations for achievement and maturity, but they are also warm and responsive. These parents set rules and enforce boundaries by having open discussion, providing guidance, and using reasoning. This provide their kids with reasoning and explanations for their action. Explanations allow children to have a sense of awareness and teach kids about values, morals, and goals. Their disciplinary methods are confrontive, that is, reasoned, negotiable, outcome oriented, and concerning with regulating behaviors. Authoritative parents are affectionate and supportive. They respect their children's autonomy, provide them with a lot of freedom, and encourage independence. They also bidirectional communication. This style of parenting is also known as the democratic style. Children of authoritative parents are cherished. Based on Baumrinn's research on parenting styles, children of authoritative parents tend to naadjudgay positive effects sa usa ka bata. So one is appear happy and content, are more independent, are more active, achieve higher academic performance, develop good self-esteem, interact with peers using competent social skill, have better mental health, less depression, anxiety, suicide attempts, alcohol and drug use, exhibit less violent tendencies. Next is authoritarian, high demandingness and low responsiveness. High levels of parental control and low levels of parental responsiveness are the two characteristics of the authoritarian style. Although authoritarian parenting and authoritative parenting styles have similar names, they have several important differences in parenting belief, demand, and approach. While both parental styles demand standards, authoritarian parents demand blind obedience using reasons such as because I said so. They only allow one-way communication through strict rules and orders. Any attempts to reason with them are seen as backtalk. These parents use stern discipline and often employ harsh punishment, such as corporal punishment, as a way to obtain behavioral control. Their disciplinary methods are coercive, that is, arbitrary, peremptory, domineering, and concerned with making status distinctions. Authoritarian parents are unresponsive to their child's needs, are generally not nurturing. They usually justify using mean treatment to toughen up their children. Children whose parents have an authoritarian parenting styles tend to naadjudgay negative effects sa usa ka bata. So, una is ang have an unhappy disposition, be less independent, appear insecure, possess low self-esteem, exhibit more behavioral problems or conduct issues, more temper tantrums, perform worse academically, have poorer social competence, be more prone to mental issues, be more likely to have drug use problems, and lastly is have worse coping skills. Permissive, low demandingness, and high responsiveness. So permissive parents set very few rules and boundaries. They are reluctant to enforce rules. These indulgent parents are warm and indulgent, but they do not like say no or disappoint their children. Children have permissive parents tend to have the worst outcomes, cannot follow rules, have worse self-control, possess egocentric tendencies, encounter more problems in relationships and social interactions. Lastly is neglectful, low demandingness and low responsiveness. Neglectful parents do not set firm boundaries or high standards. They are indifferent to their children's needs and involved in their lives. These uninvolved parents may have mental issues themselves, such as depression or physical abuse or child neglect when they were kids. Children of neglectful parents are more impulsive, cannot self-regulate emotion, have more mental issues. Example, suicidal behavior in adolescents. A quick look at what preschoolers can do from the Philippine Early Learning Standards. Expression of basic emotion. 37 to 48 months or 3 to 4 years expresses what he or she likes, expresses what he or she dislikes, can talk about difficult feelings like anger, sadness, worry he or she experiences, self-regulation of feelings or emotion, willing to try something in order to learn more even if unsure of a successful outcome, perseveres when faced with challenging or new tasks, accepts brief delays in gratification, accepts defeat well, is not a score loser, may have some fears but is not overly fearful, anxious, or nervous, may feel sad at times but not to the point where or she is depressed. Display of self-appraisal emotion, shame, pride, and guilt. Plays to learn a game. Plays to gain mastery of a game. Shows pleasure and enjoyment over his or her successful attempts or efforts. Confidently joins small groups, especially if situation is competitive. Seeks assistance from an adult or child to solve a problem. Receptivity to others' emotion. Receptivity to emotion and having empathy. 37 to 48 months, feels others' distress and acts appropriately. Example, helps, comforts, gives suggestion, etc. Emerging sense of self. Knowledge of self and basic rules of people in his environment. Talks about own specific abilities and characteristics. Example, sings, dances, is helpful, studios, etc. Describe what primary caregivers can do, what they like and don't like. Defends possessions with determination, can give reasons or justify why she or she acted the way he or she did. Forming attachments shows preference for the company of significant adults and children, other than the primary caregiver, over unfamiliar adults and children. Interactions with other children. Plays with 2 or 3 children using the same play equipment. Participates in games with other children but plays in his own way. Chats, converses with others' children. Takes turns and shares toys with others. Actively participates in classroom and group routines. Plays organized group games fairly. Interactions with adults. 36 to 48 months, verbalizes feelings related to events that arise in classroom, home, and environment in positive way. Speaks respectfully with adults po and opo and or appropriate titles. Recognize the importance of adults' ideas and experiences by listening and asking questions when they share this. Clarifies rules and routines before abiding by them. Shares personal perspective when he or she does not agree with or see the value of a rule or routine. Can take on another person's viewpoint, pakiramdam or sensitivity. Knows when to stop asking questions when he is being makulit. Cooperates to minimize conflict or tension. Appreciating diversity. Ask questions that indicate he or she notices differences in socio-economic status. Ask questions about new, different words or dialects and practices in the community. Talks about gender differences and rules. Regards everyone respectfully using proper titles or labels and does not resort to name-calling. Willing to make friends with other children and adults in different situation and location. Examples sa schools or sa neighborhood. The role of caregivers in the socio-emotional development of the preschooler. From the discussion above, one can see the very important role that parents and teachers play in the socio-emotional development of the preschoolers. The following tips are given to caregivers, parents, and teachers. 1. Greet each child with his or her names each day. Be sincere and respectful to each child. Read storybooks that deal about friendships and different feelings. Develop routines in the home or school that encourage working together and getting along. Help children learn to make rules and play simple games by providing opportunities for them to play in small groups. Play games that involve social interaction and teamwork. Observe how a child plays with other children. Teach him to request, negotiate, and apologize. Help children understand and cope with strong feelings by giving them words that they can use to express how they feel. Use dolls, puppets, or pictures to demonstrate to children how to express feelings appropriately. Acknowledge how the child feels. For example, one can say, "Nalulungkot ka dahil hindi ka nakasama sa party? You seem so sad that you did not go to the party." When we do this, we are able to model the preschooler that is important to listen and that having feelings, even negative ones, are okay. Catch children doing good. Affirm the efforts they make to accomplish something. Be specific in your praise. Do not say, "Good job" or "very good." Instead say, "When I saw you pack away your toys, I felt really happy." Remember to always pack away. Next is read storybooks that deals about friendships. And lastly, for teachers, develop routines that encourage working together and getting along.